Can you hear me?
Sure.
Yeah, I know you hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Should I start? I hope Steve Jobs' product will not die as Steve did. Nothing's the same since he died. Even my Mac crashes more often. I just had a crash 3 days ago. My hard drive died, and thanks God for Dropbox. Otherwise, you wouldn't be seeing this. Okay, how many of you guys are? I had a workshop planned for the beginning of my session, but the other guy stole it for me. The guy in the morning had the same workshop, so we'll not do that. So I'll just wake you up after it was lunch, wasn't it? Yeah. This is a tough slot to fill. So how many of you know how to code something? Okay. Okay. So everyone else is is either a UX guy or project manager. Yes? UX guys? UX people? Okay, one UX guy. Okay, tough crowd. Yeah, usually we are hated by developers. Moje ime je Janez. No, joking. Mitja, but I'm from Slovenia. Company name is D-Labs. It's not my company. Probably will be in a few months. I really wanted to study psychology. Then I went to study communication studies, and I was the best webmaster in my year. So the communication was obvious. I wanted to become an information architect. This is how this thing was called. I think 2002 or 2003 when I started. So I was called information architect. Then I was blogging a lot. Then I was writing spam blogs to earn money from Google. I was a speaker. I'm a speaker still right now. Also teaching UX in Slovenia. Also, I have a big Facebook group. It's in Slovenian language, but it has 500 members, all Slovenian UX people. And I'm working. I just had to send 10 megabytes of wireframes to my client just 10 minutes ago. And yes, I'm a head of UX at D-Labs. That's a Slovenian company who works mainly for startups. Also organizing service design workshops, UX jams, really trying to tell the world that user is important, maybe more than the code. That's not really a good thing to say here. So I'm also a certified Scrum Master. That's why I'm qualified to speak here. But I think I'm not certified anymore because the thing expires. So I think I'm expired certified Scrum Master. This is my family. This is my dog. I like to eat a lot, good food, and I wish I had more hair. This is the waking up after lunch, you know. This is how this is me at work. Basically here I'm having a co-design session with we are defining a persona, I think. This is a user journey and wireframes on the wall. We are used to stick things on the wall just like Agile people do. Because this is the best way if you want to estimate something is to just stand in person with people, not just send things over with PDF or some other technology. Post-its are awesome. This is me impersonating a funnel because there was no thing here. So this was a workshop about Google Analytics, and he was explaining the funnel. I was the funnel. And this is Service Jam. We do this a lot. It's design thinking. You've heard a lot about this today because it's a hit. It's the new UX or something. So D-Labs is the company, internet company. We do internet products mainly for startups. We have hooked some good funded London startups, and 60% of our Money comes from London, 40% from Slovenia. 10 people who could be called UX, but basically I think there are 4 UX, others are more or less visual designers or front-end people who aspire to create good experiences. And we have 20 developers, PHP and stuff. So what is UX? With technology, it's really interesting because at the beginning of every technology, UX and usability and all this stuff doesn't matter. Because the important thing here is that it's so much better than the typewriter. And it's not important how it looks, how it feels, how it works, does it work. It just has to work from time to time so the geek is happy. Then we had this thing much better than the typewriter. It's WordPress. No, it's not WordPress. It's WordPerfect, sorry, yeah. WordPerfect was a great thing. They had this feature called semi-bold. And after that, there was Microsoft trying to compete this with many features. And you know, if there was a user who said, I want to have double screen validation or something, they would put this in the next version. And they had big problems, and that's why every next product had a thicker book with it. You know, how thick the Microsoft... How many Microsoft people are here? No one from directly from Microsoft? Okay, I'll try to shut myself. Okay, sorry. Nothing personal, it's just a good joke for a UX guy.
I didn't work for work.
Okay. So another thing they invented was this thing, and then they found a user, even with this they played, you know. They found a user who said, I hate this image here, so they invented a dog, a cat, and all that, you know. So you had a book and this, how is it called? Whatever, a helping thing. So official term for this is featureitis. It's really common right now, also in Agile. Backlog is usually filled with featureitis, we call them. We try to put them at the end of Moscow or somewhere in the sub-region of Moscow. It's W and stuff. And then some people try to fix this. This guy is really important. I suggest you read his book. He's Don Norman. He basically created user experience, the term, in I don't know when, 2005, 2004. Okay. He also worked with this guy, Steve. And then this girl is probably important because she was head of UX at Google, and she's cute. I touched her once. Well, the story about her is... Well, it was just, you know, shoulder to shoulder. Just shoulder to shoulder. She was on an event in Paris, and I just, yeah, that was my goal. I was happy when I finished that event. Okay, next time. So Marissa said, show to users what 95% of them use 95% of their time, something like that. And she's guilty for keeping the google.com page without many features. She's important. But lately, UX is really important, and every visual guy, every front-end guy thinks he's a UX guy because it's important, and you can sell it, you know, it's good money. And many different people call it different things. You've probably seen this. It's the usual joke for the conferences. So I think 5 blind men are touching the elephant. Let's say the elephant is the UX, and some people say, those who come from agencies or advertising, they would say, it's all about good looks and simplicity. Make it simple, now give this feature away. And they go too far with this. And this blind guy say, it's all about content, it's just text and typography. And there's some business savvy guy who say, just measure everything, do analytics, A/B testing, and everything will be perfect for the user. There's someone who says, usually the developer, who says, just front end, I don't care. And some old-fashioned people, they call it usability. The difference between usability and user experience is like difference between edible and tasty when it comes to food. If you make something usable, it's like making something edible. So no one will choke with it, and people will just, go to the next step. If you're creating user experience, you're creating something people will want to use, will want to share, because using it was like reading poetry or taking a walk or touching Marissa. So there's a difference between usability and UX, but first you have to create some basic, and that's usability, and then you continue to do more stuff. I went to a conference, UX Week in San Francisco, I think 1 year ago, and for a joke, I just took as many cards as possible, business cards, and this is what people call themselves. 49 different things they were on their business cards. There was a guy who called himself information developer, another guy who was a creative front-end developer, user experience agent, probably from CIA, and user experience artist. It's a mess. It's really, really a mess. Who's the right guy to choose? I've read books, I've been to conferences, and I'm still quite confused. Then I went to the Silicon Valley to some startups, and this is one of the Slovenian quite successful startups, and they said, don't care, just do something, launch it, and then A/B test it till it's fine. Then another guy, this is Luke Wroblewskis, he's a magician for mobile web and front-end development, web front-end development, and he said, find a pink unicorn, that's a really rare species, where one person will know how to research users, do interaction design, visual design, and front-end, and develop his own front-end. That's him, and he's just one guy in the universe, and he's a pink unicorn. Then there's this guy, Peter Merholz, who's really important because he invented the word blog, by the way. But he said it's actually customer experience, so don't look at the guy who's looking at the screen, but look at his holistic experience, how he feels before he starts using it and after it, and how he buys it and why does he buy again. Then I went to Mozilla. She's head of UX or head of something at Mozilla, and she was really welcoming, but she said, I have 6-7 people who do data mining, and that's our UX. And then this guy, he's ex-UX at eBay, and he says, just don't do Agile. I left eBay when we started doing Agile because it's a terrible environment for creating great products. And defining the damn thing is about to get worse. I'll try to watch this, not this. Because this is Mike Kuniowski, he's written a great book called The Connected World. And he said that CPU, ultra competitors, motion detectors, whatever, is getting really cheap. So we can have, this is an actual case of an experience, of parking experience in San Francisco. This is light detectors that knows when you are parked here, and you can open an app to see where is a free parking, and you can basically, just press it, and it will be yours for 3 minutes. No one will go there. And in the streets where there are little cars, a small number of cars parked, the price is really low. And in the city center where there are very limited parking lots, it's really expensive to park. So this experience, it consists of this, and the web, and there are people, who will give you a traffic ticket. In a second, you will go beyond your paid allowance, and they will just give you a ticket. So there are like 6, 7, 8 interfaces, and the user have to feel comfortable between them, and that's really, really hard to achieve. This is, for example, another case. This is a box of pills, or a bottle for pills. And this bottle of pills informs the internet every time it gets opened and closed. So what we have here is you would get an SMS if your mama would forget her morning dementia pill, or maybe she has dementia and I don't know, heart attack risk, and she would forget both. And you would get an SMS in 30 minutes after she would forget it. So it's really, again, really something complex. It could live in mobile, web, I don't know, doctor could get a message, or an ambulance could be sent just after it. And these experiences are really hard to create and polish. Also, it's going to get even more, and my question is, can Agile cope with it? This is how I see Agile. I'm working with Agile people with teams of Agile people for 5-6 years. We also do the certifications and all this. I also had a certificate once. But now, I just think that the Agile process is all about developer and the process. I think it was invented because developers are, they're usually more introverts. They're the guys who learned how to code when they were 12, and then they had no social life for 10 years. So they had to create some, ways of communicating for them and for me. I'm geek as well. I'm a geek as well. So it's a nice thing to have a daily, to have a review, to have all this stuff, and. But still, I think it was made for developers, from developers, and not around users. So there are many problems because of that. Usually what I get from bad kind of developers is, I'm not responsible for UX. I will not deal with this. It's not my job. And usually we fight, but there are also some people who I like work together. We become a team, and then we work together, and it's like it's awesome. They know part of what I do, and I know enough of technology, so we can work together and we can co-design, and we can, you programmers or developers have this. You're lucky because you have all this agile thing. I think development is faster than ever and actually better than ever, and we poor UX people, we don't have this. We usually, sit behind our computer. You have pair programming. We don't have pair UXing. So it's a problem. But I think that the solution is that UX people need to appreciate the system and the code, and developers need to embrace and experience UX. That's why I will continue with explaining you some basic stuff about UX right now, because you're developers, so you're the right target. I'm not getting paid for this, but I like this product. It's a thingy called, created by Steven Anderson, basically psychological and neuroscience cards, which you can use to start learning about UX and about users. So, for example, one card says social proof. We tend to follow the patterns of similar others in an unfamiliar situation. And here's an example how you can use this in your product. And there are like 52 cards. It's called Get Mental Notes. It's a website, probably. It's always sold out, so you might be lucky. I was lucky. Well, once I was trying to get some sense out of this, so I put all 52 cards on my table, and what I got was really something I couldn't make sense of it. So I started to sort those cards, and I got to. I liked it. Yeah. Hey. Funny moment when you fall asleep. I need a funny moment. So it's usually like those American books do it, points, 10 simple points to great UX. So my points are really meet your users, make not too bad first impression, then arouse, create tension, make it understandable, make it usable, the wow, create the wow. This is there's a thin line between usability and user experience. And then create relationship beyond the screen. And the first point is really all you need. Basically, we don't need all those, so maybe I'll just skip them. Usually, how many of you are web savvy, web developers? How many of you have been in Google Analytics? Yeah. Okay. Not everyone. Okay. Google Analytics is numbers you get. 200 people bought something, or 200 people are stuck in the step 37, whatever. So usually when we see analytics, we see this. We see a herd of users from a chopper view, and they're there moving around our application, and we don't see nothing. But basically, this is how close we should go. We should, I know, maybe because of the thing I said earlier, and maybe some of you is not happy with it, but I really think that geeks are not that social, and with geek population, it's really hard to find people who would just, you know, grab a stranger and say, would you sit with me 20 minutes so I show you my software? But I think if we want to make better software, that's what every developer should do. I started with my family, with my sisters, with my mom, with my dad. I'm even testing my designs with my 3-year-old. That just because my 6 months old is too little, but in 2 months he'll be ready for user testing. He's already touching the Nexus 7 pad, so I'm really optimistic about it. But yeah, this is how close you should go. You know, there's a woman, Diane Fossey, if you heard about her. She spent 13 or 18 years in Rwanda jungle meeting these people, meeting gorillas, you know. And now we know about gorillas a lot. And I think she knows about gorillas more than you know about your users, just because you spend time with them. And this is basically, if you remember something from today's speech, remember this monkey. And remember that your users are not monkeys and that they're not idiots. I think idiots are people who don't test on users, not users. I know there are some, yeah, there's the record of recorded history of idiots using your software and my software, but usually, you know, if you start with people who you know they are not idiots, they're just not geeks, you'll find surprising things. You would never, your UX guy will never tell this, and you just have to feel it. I'm a big fan of unprofessional user testing. 2 days ago, I had this consulting session with a young startup, 2 developers. They're making money already after 3 months after launching. And they thought it will be interaction design session, so I'll open my wireframing tool and wireframe in front of them and discuss with them and do prioritization, all stuff. But what I did was I started with inviting three people into our meeting, and those 3 people were just, I just conducted the usability testing in front of them. So it took like 2 hours of these 3 tests. And after that, they were just amazed of how much they learn about their product. They just, you know, they were forced to participate in a usability testing, and 3 days after it, it's like, this was 3 days ago, I think, yeah, 3 days. They conducted 5 more tests, and they sent me the report. I'm sure the testing was not perfect, but they are willing to learn just because they experienced it once and they learned so much about their product. Okay, how many of you are thinking that me speaking about the monkey is bullshit? Okay, okay, I'll continue. So, this is another example of why you should go out. This is a Bain & Company created a research, and they asked organizations, how good is the experience of your customers? So, how good is the experience of your products, basically? And 80% of those companies said experience of our company, of our product is superior. And then they asked the people who were using their products and their services, and only 8% agreed to this. So where I see that UX and all we who create software and products and services have this gap to fill, you know, what people think about themselves, what companies think about themselves, and what's the reality, basically. This is what UX is. This is what software, what good software and bad software is. Usually we have this idealized thinking about our customers and our users. She's good looking, she has these fancy devices, and she pays online with her credit cards. But in reality, what you find out is really disturbing, because they're reading this paper thingies, not like us. They're having this, you know, we would be talking with our clients about responsive or not, but you know, if their users are on Nokias, we will not do their website responsive. And they would pay with this. I have a real-life example about this thing. In Mimo Vrste, it's the biggest Slovenian e-commerce store, I think the biggest in the region. They were just sold to Czech people. We had this big issue, should we focus on online payments and stuff? And then we just realized that only 3% of all payments were created by credit cards, and that it wasn't the biggest issue we had to solve. So sometimes, you know, meeting users can just help you address the right problems. And yeah, people don't see really well sometimes. So if your agency designer guy is trying to sell you some gray text on white, just test it on this user and send him the report. It's really easy, you know. It may be your grandma, and you just show it to her, and she say, "What?" I just had a usability test for chemical engineers. We're doing some software for them, and they all had glasses, and no one seen anything, so we just didn't do testing that day. This guy is important, Jacob Nielsen. These are not his words, but when you do usability testing, try to ignore what people say, try to ignore written feedback, and try to just observe the needs, the context of use, the behaviors, the mishaps, the errors, and all that. Try not to listen to users, just watch them. Try to be Diane Fossey. Gorillas didn't say anything, but she now knows a lot. We now know a lot about it. Another tool I would really like you to do is create personas. It's not something that is anyone has personas for their product? Okay. Awesome. Anyone using user journeys? Okay, that's it. That's okay, basically. But this really, you know, it looks like you're doing some bullshit because you're not coding anything. But at the end of the day, if you do this, it might take you just a few days, you know, or a day, or a few hours for mediocre personas. But everyone in the room will be on the same page after you do it. And that's why I really recommend that you do it. This is how, for example, the simplest persona I do for my project is, there's this guy, which I hope, I had some information, some hard data about it, but I just condensed it in one sentence, and then I did some journey, his journey from, I don't know, from Google to checkout and everything in between. And this really helped shape the product. This I think was the, yeah, no, this is, no, I will not tell you, mustn't. So next, make not too bad first impression. Many startups and many designers believe that some makeup will do the trick on the product, but then you get this. You get, you know, software that should go to fitness, should go to a surgeon or something, or at least, I don't know. Makeup is not enough with her. You cannot fix it with makeup. But yeah, there are some proofs that visual appeal might affect usability and conversions. People, if something looks good to people, there's a bigger chance that they will start using it, and that they will. But that's only, you know, for first 10 seconds. I know. That's Balkan.
I don't know, great.
Well, sometimes you don't even need to polish your look. Sometimes it's enough. For Google, I think Google spent 10 years without visual polishing things. They just created products that no one else had, and products that were better than anything we know. But even Google started, I think, 1 year ago when Larry Page became CEO. They started redesigning, and now even your Gmail looks good. It always looked like crap. Then next thing, when user passes his first 10 seconds, you need to arouse him, create tension. There are some examples of this. For example, you put some of the interface on the front screen, and you ask the person something she's really questioning at the moment. So this is Airbnb, a traveling website. they're doing this really, really good. So it's the icebreaker. So split your things into chewable chunks, expose something to play with, you know, make it interesting. And then there's, I don't know, Pinterest. First time I went to Pinterest, I just couldn't stop scrolling because always it was something really interesting here. I don't know how they do it. Also, for example, Facebook does it the same. You know, you just scroll until you erase your account for some reason. Another thing: show show users people and logos they respect and they will follow. That's why we put, you know, like box on the website, because people will follow their friends. Or they will follow important logos up there. This is the usual thing. Even Microsoft does it. Then another way of creating tension is maybe time limit. Fab.com is a web e-commerce store, and they always put this timer when you put something in the cart. They would put timer in it and say you have 20% off if you complete your purchase in next 15 minutes, and then you just click and finish your purchase. Exclusivity is another thing. You know, if for example, mental notes from Steven Anderson, it's always saying 40 pieces left, or only for certified Scrum Master. People want to be certified Scrum Masters because it gives them, you know, exclusive look and feel or something. Scarcity, yeah, scarcity is a better word for that. So if something is not plenty but scarce, people will go there. Make it understandable. The usual buzzword I would use here would be information architecture, information design, and all that. This thing would make your product understandable. When visual designers call themselves UX, they would usually not do this kind of stuff because that's too tiring for them. They would just create pretty pictures, and they wouldn't do information architecture like it was taught 5-10 years ago. So have sitemaps, flows, labeling, cart sorting. You know, I can tell you a story about labeling. In Mimoverse case, it's I think 30 million revenue per year with e-commerce. A small thing for the world, but a big thing in Slovenia. We had one label wrong, and it was they were selling tires, but the label on the website was not tires, but it was pneumatics. Because they had this linguistic guy employed who said we have to follow the Slovenian language. The rule is pneumatics, tires is for farmers. We don't use tires. So this was labeled, this is one of the 150 different, they had 150 departments where you can shop just about everything. And this wrong label probably cost them like few millions in 5 years, just because the label was wrong, and people were actually searching for tires in Google, not for pneumatics, as you might think. So on one label can cost you a lot if there's no one who would think about it or research it in Google Trends or somewhere else. Whatever. Use this, really understand how they really understand. I use cart sorting a lot. This is for one store that is selling products, and we just put their products, 100 different products, on little carts, and this is a user, and user had to create groups out of these products and put labels on the groups. And this is how you know how people think about things, how they group things in their mind, and then you can, you know, create architecture that fits their mind. It's really simple tool. You don't have to be a psychology PhD, or you don't have to hire fancy, I don't know, Scrum or UX consultants to do that. It's just one article, and you will be able to do it in a lousy way. But once you will read, I don't know, 5 articles, you will be an expert. But the question is, why is no one doing this, and why are people getting lost every day on websites and in apps? Okay, we'll skip this. Information design is something you can learn from IKEA or from airports. There's one simple reason. If IKEA makes information design badly, people will not know how to assemble their furniture, and they will they will bring it back, or they will call the call center, and this costs basically. So that's why they really invested in information design. So even if someone doesn't know how to read, he can read this. Airports, same thing. You know, if there's an airport, if there's someone checked in an airport, and he just can't find his plane, the Lufthansa has some problems finding that person because the whole plane is waiting, and they have huge expenses. Yeah, that's quote usually the only thing people know about UX. Let's make it simple for the idiots. It's not all there is there. Sometimes people will use things for whole days, for a whole life, for their whole career. And if that software doesn't have to be simple, it can be complex, but you need a UX guy and some research to handle this complexity. Make it usable. This is maybe another picture I would like you to keep in your mind. Anyone had this in his hand, maybe? Yes, yes, you played it. Usable and really good user experience feels the same as when you catch this ball, because it snaps. It makes you feel good, because you know this hand, how is it called? It's not hand. It's golf. Yeah, this golf was made for this, and this is your interface, and this is user mind. And you know, if you know what this is, you will create this snap. This is how, you know, if someone comes to your website or your product, and you know exactly what his thoughts are and how what words he would use, you will create a better interface. Yeah, just a joke, so you don't go to sleep. Usually, when I do usability testing, I try to keep the client away for the first time. So I usually put him in another room, so he just watches the usability testing through the screen. So when he says, "No, that's not how you're supposed to use it," that's the usual reaction you know, if you own something, if you created something. The other day I had a client who had been creating his software for 5 years. You know, people get emotionally attached that their product is good. Because they have noticed 1 or 2 users who know how to use it the first time. And they get really upset, and you don't want them to interfere the usability test. So one way is to film it. You can use Camtasia or something to record your screen and to do your first usability test, which you will do next week, okay? Buttons, yeah, I'm just giving you hints from all over the place. Buttons are the most important thing in the app. I test this with 3-year-old son, because he usually gets really confused with iPad games with bad buttons, and that's how you can learn, just by. And even now, when I show him the screen, he would, you know, press a button, try to press the button, even if it's not touch screen. You can learn a lot from offline. For example, architects, they do horrible UX things. Even in this, I had few problems in this hotel. This is a usual thing, you know. The extreme persona here would be a drunk guy who is scrolling because he's drunk, and it's 3 a.m. in the morning, and he tries to, you know, find his home in the 9th floor. And what happens is he wants to turn on the light, but he turns on the bell with her neighbor's bell, and this bell rings and wakes her up, and this woman has problems all the time, and she decided to do some UX on it, and she was probably quite successful. But actually, the one who programmed this, the engineers should know better, you know, or architects and engineers. Usually have the same relationship, you know. Architects makes pretty pictures, and then someone says, "We will do this electricity in a way," and this is what happens. Real life. Then set and measure KPIs. With project I work on, I insist that every template has a KPI. So we design every template around that KPI or set of KPIs, although it's good if there's one really important. And so you have this in mind all the time. Or you can, copy these two guys. They both do experiments. There's not a lot of known how this famous guy, Jobs, did their UX on products and software. But I just read an article that said that they usually employed 11 teams on the same software. And after a while, they were called in the room, and Steve or other committee people fired like 8 of those 11 teams who were solving the same problem. And 3 winning teams got 3 more months to develop further their version. And then after 3 months, the winning version was in the production. This was their way. And this guy is always, lunatic, always willing to say, okay, this doesn't work, I will throw this away. What I see in Agile developers is that once they have written a bunch of code, they will never throw it away. I will end it, yeah. There's just the wow. This is not a wow, this is a wow. Wow will bring you something, users will bring you Mojo. Mojo, for example, is hidden in I'm feeling lucky button, which has no, the feeling I'm feeling lucky button on Google. Anyone clicked it? No? Okay. You can tell a joke to users. MailChimp has these weird jokes. Why am I smiling, you ask? Because I'm not wearing any pants. I'm just a monkey and telling you a new joke every day. And just makes sending emails a little bit more comfortable. Be smooth. Google was always known for, we have been always looking how fast they can manage to give you results. And for the last thing I want to tell you is really gross. There are 2 things that will stay in users' mind: the peak moment and the end of the experience. And this is colonoscopy. Everyone knows what colonoscopy is?
Lucky enough, not directly.
Okay. Anyone had personal experience? No, I would go to jail in the States, I guess.
Yeah. We're going to be already.
This has nothing to do. This has nothing to do with UX, but it has basically. For colonoscopy, you need. They had patients A and patients B. Patients were asked to report the pain intensity every minute. So this is the ordinary colonoscopy in 8 minutes, so 8 reports of how painful is it. So not painful, oh, painful, okay, good enough, oh shit, oh, okay, let's go home. And then there was another kind of patients, this was an experiment basically. They decided to torture them 25 minutes. And the idea was, okay, okay, pause, and then, okay. And then, after a few days, they asked them to report on would they recommend their experience to friends or something, or how painful was it? How painful was their experience? And they actually found out that how much did they suffer, and how much did they think they suffered is a different thing. So these guys, they wouldn't recommend it to their friends, and these guys, the ending was better. They actually would recommend to their friends. Yeah, this is just a joke. It's not a recommendation, but the level of pain. Exactly. So if your experience in any way resembles colonoscopy, sorry, just a joke. So relationship beyond the screen, everything goes mobile, so you should really think about embracing what guys before me have been telling you about. So buzzwords like service design and design thinking are not buzzwords anymore, but they are real. And your to-do when you leave this building is start saying this, that UX is not your job. You create something that someone uses, so it's your job. Either you'll do it in a basic way in, I don't know, one usability test per 2 months, or you will hire someone or whatever. Work with personas and user journeys, read one basic UX book, or at least get mental notes, which is like reading tweets about UX, but really in a good way. And the only thing I would really want you to do is try to embrace this habit. 1 hour of usability testing per week with real people. If there's a usability guy in your country, invite him for 2 hours and watch him how he does it. It's going to cost you 2 hours. It's not that expensive, but it can improve your product immensely. And yeah, that's it. Thank you. Diane Fossey? Is dead?
Oh, it's been killed
by a gorilla.
Gorilla hunters.
You know, if you maybe she started to resemble gorillas. You know, if you spend time with you know, some kinds of people, you become to resemble them. Just joking. I would go to jail for this as well. Any questions?
Do you have service for this research on colonoscopy?
Yeah, it's actually a great. Is it a Stanford guy or Daniel Kahneman? Just search for him. It's his TED Talk. In his TED Talk, it's a great TED Talk about. I don't know what. It's a TED Talk. Yeah. Anything else?
If I make my observation,
Sure.
I still call it usability.
You still call it
In my
usability.
opinion, usability is usability. If you read the ISO norm 9241, the name is usability, but that describes perfectly user experience. The problem names, of course.
It's you know, usability could. Yeah, I totally agree, but user experience is more popular in Google currently, so.
I would suggest not to make the difference between programmers and usability category.
I'm observing
They
it.
will overlap. The last of programmers should understand usability.
Yeah, but my experience is that some are really, they don't want to embrace it. They think that kill them. Okay.
Already in jail, so you can keep that. Anyway, very interesting. Thank you.
Okay.
How often do you drink about Maurice?
I think it was once. It was really nice. Anything else about my personal life and my subconsciousness? Just ask, no problem.
You should publish.
I'm open.
We'll take a break because we need to proceed with the program.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very much.
This is my family. This is my dog. I like to eat a lot, good food, and I wish I had more hair. This is the waking up after lunch, you know. This is how this is me at work. Basically here I'm having a co-design session with we are defining a persona, I think. This is a user journey and wireframes on the wall. We are used to stick things on the wall just like Agile people do. Because this is the best way if you want to estimate something is to, you know, just stand in person with people, not just send things over with PDF or some other technology. Post-its are awesome. This is me impersonating a funnel because there was no thing here. So this was a workshop about Google Analytics, and he was explaining the funnel. I was the funnel. And this is Service Jam. We do this a lot. It's design thinking. You've heard a lot about this today because it's a hit. It's the new UX or something. So D-Labs is the company, internet company. We do internet products mainly for startups. We have hooked some good funded London startups, and 60% of our money comes from London, 40% from Slovenia. 10 people who could be called UX, but basically I think there are 4 UX. Others are more or less visual designers or front-end people who who aspire to create good experiences. And we have 20 developers, PHP and stuff. So what is UX? With technology, it's really interesting because at the beginning of every technology, UX and usability and all this stuff doesn't matter. Moje ime je Janez, no, joking, Mitja, but I'm from Slovenia. Company name is D-Labs. It's not my company, probably will be in a few months. I really wanted to study psychology. Then I went to study communication studies, and I was the best webmaster in my year. So the communication was obvious. I wanted to become an information architect. This is how this thing was called. I think 2002 or 2003 when I started. So I was called information architect. Then I was blogging a lot. Then I was writing spam blogs to earn money from Google. I was a speaker. I'm a speaker still right now. Also teaching UX in Slovenia. Also, I have a big Facebook group. It's in Slovenian language, but it has 500 members, all Slovenian UX people. And I'm working. I just had to send 10 megabytes of wireframes to my client just 10 minutes ago. And yes, I'm a head of UX at D-Labs. That's a Slovenian company who works mainly for startups. Also organizing service design workshops, UX jams, really trying to tell the world that user is important, maybe more than the code. That's not really a good thing to say here. So I'm also a certified Scrum Master, that's why I'm qualified to speak here. But I think I'm not certified anymore because the thing expires, so I think I'm expired certified Scrum Master. This is my, because the important thing here is that it's so much better than the typewriter. And it's not important how it looks, how it feels, how it works, does it work. It just has to work from time to time so the geek is happy. Then we had this thing much better than the typewriter. It's WordPress. No, it's not WordPress. It's WordPerfect. Sorry, yeah. WordPerfect was a great thing. They had this feature called semi-bold, and after that there was Microsoft trying to compete this with many features. And you know, if there was a user who said, I want to have double screen validation or something, they would put this in the next version. And they had big problems, and that's why every next product had a thicker book with it. You know, how thick the Microsoft... How many Microsoft people are here? No one from directly from Microsoft? Okay, I'll try to shut myself. Okay, sorry. Nothing personal, it's just a good joke for a UX guy.
I didn't work for work.
Okay. So another thing they invented was this thing, and then they found a user. Even with this, they played. You know, they found a user who said, "I hate this image here," so they invented a dog, a cat, and all that. You know. So you had a book and this. How is it called? Whatever, a helping thing. So official term for this is featureitis. It's really common right now, also in Agile. Backlog is usually filled with featureitis. We call them, we try to put them at the end of Moscow or somewhere in the sub-region of. Can you hear me?
Sure.
Yeah, I know you hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Should I start? I hope Steve Jobs' product will not die as Steve did. Nothing's the same since he died. Even my Mac crashes more often. I just had a crash 3 days ago. My hard drive died, and thanks God for Dropbox. Otherwise, you wouldn't be seeing this. Okay, how many of you guys are? I had a workshop planned for the beginning of my session, but the other guy stole it for me. The guy in the morning had the same workshop, so we'll not do that. So I'll just wake you up after it was lunch, wasn't it? Yeah. This is a tough slot to fill. So how many of you know how to code something? Okay. Okay. So everyone else is is either a UX guy or project manager. Yes? UX guys? UX people? Okay, one UX guy. Okay, tough crowd. Yeah, usually we are hated by developers. Moscow, it's W and stuff. And then some people try to fix this. This guy is really important. I suggest you read his book. He's non-Norman. He basically created user experience, the term, in I don't know when, 2005, 2004. Okay. He also worked with this guy, Steve. And then this girl is probably important because she was head of UX at Google, and she's cute. I touched her once.
And you never watched your entrance in the mall?
Well, the story about her is. Well, it was just, shoulder to shoulder. Just shoulder to shoulder. She was on an event in Paris, and I just, that was my goal. I was happy when I finished that event.
Nerd like this.
Okay, next time. So Marissa said, show to users what 95% of them use 95% of their time, something like that. And she's guilty for keeping the google.com page without many features. She's important. But lately, UX is really important, and every visual guy, every front-end guy thinks he's a UX guy because it's important, and you can sell it. It's good money. And many different people call it different things. You've probably seen this. It's the usual joke for the conferences. So I think 5 blind men are touching the elephant. Let's say the elephant is the UX, and some people say